To introduce myself, my name is Palu Dhanani from a company known as Universal Corporation based in Kikuyu. And we have been WHO pre-qualified for the past 11 years. And those of you who know, it is like a certification. It's not a hit and run, you have to maintain it. So we have successfully maintained this for 11 years, which means quality production is possible to do in this part of the world. So I'll start with some few challenges, but first I must say, as a local manufacturer, I think the government of Kenya has done a lot, and we really appreciate in the Buy Kenya, Bin Kenya policy, and things that go with it. I think most of us know that Kenya is soon, it's not soon, it's in low middle income. It's no longer low income country. So a lot of fringe benefits are going to go with that, as well as donor funding. So we need to start building capacity in many areas in this part of the world. In space of HIV, malaria, and TB, if I take HIV as an example, 65% of the world's burden is in sub-Saharan Africa. And the manufacturing in this part of the world is, we would say, almost zero. One company in Uganda, Quality Chemicals, I think most of us would know, is the only company that is actually doing a bit of malaria and a bit of HIV, but it has got nothing in terms of the bigger numbers. So if I'm allowed, maybe if you can put up the presentation, I'll just go through the challenges as a local manufacturer. Oh, thanks. So I think I sent you the wrong one. Anyway, so just as an example, there was a recent tender advertised by the Global Fund, and it was a $40 million contract, and we lost because of 0.5% in price. Now, in reality, what does it mean? Loss of employment, foreign exchange, accessibility, because once the product you're relying on import, I think we all know where the product is manufactured nearer the problem, the accessibility is better. What are the differences here? I think this has something to do with our own government directives, initiatives, which we need help. We pay an import levy of 3% when we import the raw materials. And you can see we lost on a difference of 0.5%. So the government will not earn anything. So the 3% which they were expecting will not go to them, because the product is now fully imported with full exemptions when no taxes are being paid. 5 people will be employed to offload the container for 2 days. That's the only employment we're going to create. So I think we need some sort of assistance from whoever necessary to remove these levies and taxes which are regressing our growth. There is a current tender from the Global Fund which is out, and if we do not do something about the taxes, we will be again locked out for another 3 to 4 years, because it's, as you know, Global Fund tenders are for 3 to 4 years. And a good example is during COVID times, we all know about the logistical delays. I would proudly say that we were supplying a product to 22 African countries from Kenya. That product did not go out of stock in any of those countries. Yes, there were delays, but nobody ran out of stock. And all the countries that were relying on imports from outside the continent had shortages of those items. So it shows how important it is to have manufacturing of essential commodities in this part of the world, and especially when 65% of the burden of whatever pandemic we are talking about is in sub-Saharan Africa. Maybe if you can go to the one of the, not the word paper. So there are some subsidies that importers, or let's say manufacturers outside here get, especially when we are talking our competition only comes from the East. So India, China, Bangladesh has got huge amounts of export compensation that is given. So this is just one example of HIV. The market size, as you can see, is about $1.3 billion. And if I say 65% burden is in sub-Saharan Africa, it comes to $1 billion. And this is an example where I've taken the dollar at 100 to make things easier. In a nutshell, what we are trying to say is the government revenue will increase by 6 billion shillings in terms of taxes. And employment, direct and indirect, will have 16,000 only for this if the entire thing was bought from the region. Now, with this development, if the volumes are available, obviously the ingredients would be manufactured here. So there is a tab known as ARV API. If you can just go to that tab. So this would create another 10,000 employment for 10,000 people, an additional government revenue of 4.3 billion. And I'm talking of one item only. Why I say this and how we derive the number, we are taking an example of an existing company with an existing turnover and see how many more companies we need and how many will be employed and more ancillary industries will be formed. Likewise, we have malaria done. So only on 2 products, if you can just go to the summary slide. I don't have much, I think I don't waste much of time, but just to show you, the total revenue in terms of foreign exchange that will come into the country is 1.3 billion, including ARV and malaria only. I'm not talking anything about non-communicable diseases, no other product. Total government revenue comes to 13 billion shillings from both those. Now, why, if you see, I've put an export subsidy. This is now, if we don't have an export subsidy, we will still not be able to completely fight our counterparts, and this export subsidy can be gradually reduced as we become more efficient. Despite giving an export subsidy, there'll still be an earning of 3.4 billion and 37,000 jobs being created, only with those 2 items. I don't think I need to elaborate more on how many more items can be manufactured. So these are some of the challenges we face and what help we need. But I would also say that Global Fund really has a huge drive towards domestic production. So definitely that also is appreciation, and Global Fund actually helped these 22 African countries because that was under a Global Fund contract that we supplied from here. So I guess a little more is required if Global Fund could look at, and being in Africa, there's a little bit of more expensive in terms of manufacturing, but it's not alarming. It's not that we are 20%, 30% more higher. We could be 1.5% more higher in manufacturing than our counterpart. We could be. I don't think there's any data to show that we are much more higher than that, but I'm sure it can be competitive, and in a few years, as efficiency grows, even that 1.5% can be catered for. So I'll stop there, and just a last quick presentation on Universal. There's slides. So we are part of a company known as Strides, a global multinational, and our focus is to differentiate space in the generic industry. Next slide. This is just a history about who is Universal. We started in the year 2000. 2005 and 2008, we had rounds of investment from FinFund, which is a Finnish industrial development agency, which actually helped us to get the WHO pre-qualification. So they left in 2015, and we merged with Strides in 2016. Why did we merge? In this space, to develop one ARV will cost you between $1 to $4 million, depending on the cost of the API. Now, being in Africa, when you don't have a market, and to invest that sort of money is not going to be easy, and nobody's going to fund it. So we needed a bigger brother where we could rely on a product that is ready and do a technology transfer. So that is the reason for the merger with Strides. We are based in Kikuyu, and we've been pre-qualified since 2011. This needs to change. It's now 11 years because we don't have, the last report should come out very soon. After that, we'll change it to 11 years. Next slide. I think I don't need to introduce Strides, just go on. So this is again a global thing, just go on. Carry on. So we are in 23 years of experience, over 100 products. We are in 19 plus countries, 400 plus employees, today 500, and many other approvals apart from WHO. Carry on. Our capacity, if you move to the next slide. Our capacity is not small as well. We can produce 3 billion tablets as we talk now, which can cater for entire requirement for the region, and capsules and ORS, and that's all, including the other inspections we've shown on the slide. Please move on. What makes us different, and what is giving the confidence to the regulators? Our entire quality management system, including the trainings of our people, are based on IT and interlinked. So that gives the confidence to the quality guys that there is no manipulation of data that can happen. So all these are the softwares that we use. Can you move on? And what makes us different? I mean, these are the products that we have already got pre-qualified by WHO. We've got both the first-line treatments for malaria and HIV. And we are now developing a dispersible sulfadoxine pyrimethamine, which is for intermittent pregnancy, and sulfadoxine pyrimethamine with amodiaquine. And this is going to be dispersible. I think what we get here today is the normal conventional one and not dispersible. Move on. Here, the only thing I'd like to elaborate on is the partnership with UNICEF. We have developed 2 products with UNICEF for the betterment of children, and we are doing it at, you cannot say almost free, but cost plus, just to make sure that we get more treatments out there possible. Like the COPAC, we do about 20 million treatments a year, and the chlorhexidine gel for umbilical cord care, we also do about 3 to 4 million a year. Can we move on? We have a good training program. I mean, just as an example, and we always say that we don't have skills, but I think with a good trainee program, we can do it. In the year 2015, we had 15 expatriates. We are now down to 5. So we train people from all, not only in pharmacy, but if you go to the next slide, engineering, QA, finance, IT, supply chain, across the board. And once you go through the training program, and if you're not bonded, if you want to leave, you leave. If you have a vacancy, we take you on. And people in management level, once they get to management level, we have something, if you go to the next slide. We also have a future leadership program, because the technical people also need commercial skills. When you get to management level, you need both. So this program has really worked, and as I said, from 15 expatriates, we're down to 5. So it is possible, and skills can be developed. We have a lot of brain power. The only difference is they do not have the right training to understand GMP for today. Thank you. I think I've covered everything. Thank you very much.